welcome to Your Right to Know by the Fitchburg Republican City Committee. My name is Mary Lotze, and I will be your host for this evening's show. My friend and my cohort, Andrew Kuchar, is on assignment tonight. He's actually at a campaign event. You know, Andrew is running for Governor's Council, 7th District, and I want you to all get out there and vote for Andrew to be one of the only Republican member of the Governor's Council, bringing some parity to that very important board. Tonight we're going to have our panel back with us again, and I'd like to stress to all of our viewers, this is actually the last time we will have the opportunity to talk to you about Donald Trump before the election. Early elections in Massachusetts actually begin October 19th. So as this show runs during the month of October, this will be the last opportunity we have to actually seal the deal for you and tell you why we believe Donald Trump and all of our other candidates are going to be your best opportunity for growth, opportunity, and prosperity as we go forth in 2025 and the next 4 years. So tonight we have our great panelists back, and I'd like you all to introduce yourself again. I know you all know who you are, and I know our viewers may, but there's always some new viewers. Dave.
I'm Dave Lunger. I am the state committee man for the Middlesex-Worcester District and chairman of the Acton Republican Town Committee.
Mary.
I'm Mary Gagnon. I'm the Trump town captain of Ashburnham.
I'm John Strang. I'm the chairman of the Fitchburg Republican City Committee.
I'm Ken Wood. I'm the chairman of the Shirley RTC.
Lorraine Rudd, secretary of the Lunenburg Republican RTC.
Before I let this get away from us, I just want to thank all of our panelists again. This is the third time we've been together with a group program, and it's really been just an immense pleasure for me as host, and I know Andrew also, last month he was with us, to talk to these people and really get a sense of the big city in terms of Acton, and I know you're a town, but you're certainly more close to Boston and the metropolitan areas in John and Fitchburg, and then the small towns in Massachusetts of what people are feeling like, how the economy is impacting them negatively or positively, and I think it's negatively. But it's important that you hear the diversity of sort of background and input. So let me ask you, we left last month when we talked, and at that point we were thinking of the debates. What was going to happen at the debates? We saw what happened when President Biden and former President Trump debated, and that was a disaster. So what was going to happen when Vice President Kamala Harris was going to debate Donald Trump? So we found out that the fallout was very limited. Kamala Harris really got no bump. So explain that. Dave, why do you think Kamala Harris got no bump from the debate?
Well, I think that Trump handily won the debate. Trump went in. He went into the lines then. It was 3-1 against him. Mm-hmm. And in true Trump fashion, where he seems like he's losing, but in the end he wins. Mm-hmm. After the debate, so-called, because it wasn't a real debate. No, it wasn't. What do we see? We see memes flying about cats and dogs. I mean, he won that. Yeah. That really did happen. Yeah. He won that debate.
Mary.
Well, the bias of the debate was blatant. You couldn't miss it. I thought Trump came out looking authentic, and her not so much. Mm-hmm. I thought she came off as kind of a nasty, kind of, this kind of thing.
Well, she's middle class, don't you know?
Yeah, right, that's true. And like I said, she came off kind of nasty, and she really didn't have any substance, and she lied a lot. Mm. And of course,
fact-checking.
No fact-checking.
Yeah, John.
At the time, I thought that Trump over-prepared in the sense that he was counseled, I assume, not to be hard on her. Mm-hmm. And so there were many times when he should have been more aggressive toward her. But in retrospect, I think he probably did the right thing. And I think the big story that we should draw from it is the bias. Mm-hmm. The fact, as you said, that it was 3-1. That's what people will remember. They won't remember what she said.
Ken?
Initially, I thought that Kamala had won the debate. And the more I watched it and played it over and over again, I came across thinking that Trump won the debate because she just did everything in generalities, and it was so rehearsed and she'd been practicing for a long time. It was quite evident that she had the questions beforehand, and a whistleblower has come out since then and said she did have the questions beforehand. Also, Trump was himself, and he just gave facts, 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 and I think that's what resonated. And some of the focus groups who watched it said the same thing, and as Mary and John have said, the bias was unmistakable. They just couldn't hide it.
Lorraine.
Right, all of that. The ABC just, I mean, where
Well,
are they going
I-
to go from here?
I mean, I think one of the most unreasonable and downright deceitful things that ABC News did, and they actually came out and said it, that they only fact-checked one candidate,
Right.
and that was Donald Trump.
And they didn't fact check properly. How they did it was still a lie. And we
And
could
we
see it.
heard afterwards, earrings in her ears were actually microphones giving her information. So let me ask you this. After the debate, President Trump said he would not debate again. And yet Kamala Harris wants a debate again. She needs a debate. Why do you think that is? Why do you think she's looking for a debate? And why does he not want to debate? Any thoughts?
The voting has already started in some places. There's no point in another debate. There's much more to play out, and when November 3rd comes along, people aren't going to be thinking about any debates.
Future debates should be done on the road. That's it. They shouldn't. It's not even a debate anyway. They don't get to talk to each
Yeah.
other and ask each other questions. Mics are supposedly off, even though they weren't. He's on the road doing his rallies. You hear his campaign. You hear her with Oprah. Oprah, like,
Do you
is
think?
stunned how dopey she was.
Yeah. Do you think debates ultimately really matter in choosing a president?
A good debate would. These are not debates.
Yeah, because
These are gotchas.
I think we saw the Reagan movie, and I think that opportunity that Reagan took to say he made humor of who was it, Walter Mondale's youth and inexperience. I mean, talk about sealing the deal.
Yeah.
That stamped it right there. I think when Scott Brown was in a debate and he used that term, the people see. That sealed his deal of going into the U.S. Senate.
The last real debate, I think, was Lincoln Douglas. And everything since then.
Well, you're going back to the 1800s. I wasn't watching that one on TV.
No less.
We just missed
Yes,
it.
that was the first Republican debate. All right, let me ask you this. Since that time now, of course, Vice President Harris has not made any public appearances. We know that. She's been very limited in going before the camera, but she did appear before the National Association of Black Journalists for a sit-down Q&A. Not a debate, just a Q&A, and had some interesting fallout results. Do you think Donald Trump was before the same group, different commentators, but was before the same Association of Black Journalists just a month before? Compare the two presentations if anybody has thoughts on that.
Well, I think that she maybe didn't influence anybody, and she, I think a lot of moderate undecided and some Democrats are catching on that she has no substance.
Right.
She's got a lot of platitudes and slogans, and the latest one was
I'm middle class.
the middle class, but
her mother-
holistic planning.
Oh.
That was her last one,
my
whatever
goodness.
that is.
Yeah. And her mother was sitting at a yellow Formica table fretting over bills and how to pay the bills.
Right,
and when you saw the homes this middle-class woman
Yeah.
grew up in as a
Right.
child, they're, by any other account, mansions. So
And she was a biochemical engineer. The mother was.
Research.
Yeah, research.
they were both
At McGill.
PhDs
Yeah.
in their own
Yeah.
field. She was recently on Oprah Winfrey. How do you think that went? Lorraine, you kind of alluded to the
I
Oprah
can't
Winfrey.
even. Oprah was in terror. Like, how do I get out of this? It was bad. It was bad.
Had to actually give her answers to some of the questions.
Coach her, try to get her. The two of them put themselves in a corner that they are now never going to get out of.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad, actually, after Oprah's long career, but she dug her own hole.
Since last month, there was again a second assassination attempt on President Trump. This was actually in his own property on West Palm Beach, his golf course. So who's to blame? There are people out there, Democrats, who are saying it's Trump's fault because Trump makes himself too public. He's out there too much. He's talking to too many people. He should be standing behind, I guess some sort of a podium with a big glass bubble around him where people can't even hear him. I look at both of these as, where's the Secret Service? What do you think? This was the second assassination attempt in 2 months, or maybe 5 or 6 weeks.
So the FBI has been involved, these assassination guys are known to them. And the whole thing is outing the three-letter agencies. So, and then look at Cheadle, the head of the Secret Service. She testifies, oh, I did everything right. Then within 24 hours, she quits.
She's gone.
So this is just outing the diabolical nature of the FBI, the CIA, the Secret Service.
Well, the negative rhetoric, I think that's what's causing a lot of this. They started as soon as he became a Republican candidate for president, and but it's become so vicious and so terrible, and I can't believe that DOJ sent the letter out from the last assassin
Manifesto.
Yeah, and saying that there's a bounty of $150,000 on his head. I mean, I think it's deliberate. I really do. I feel it's deliberate.
I agree. I think these are not accidents. We've seen incompetence. It's programmed incompetence on the part of the
It's not accidental.
That's right. The institution that has the law, by law, is supposed to protect candidates and presidents, failed grossly, and it failed again. And you can't explain this away. We know enough now, even though the Secret Service and the FBI have both been reluctant to release full details. We know enough to realize that these are not accidents. Incidentally, the cell phone or the communications media that the first assassin, Crooks, had apparently is still not unlocked. And I've heard the same about this second guy. Why is that? I mean, the United States government presumably must have people who can get access to these media of communication.
Ken, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, if we just use our common sense in Butler, a roof that's 138 yards away from where Trump is speaking with nobody on it. Ridiculous. And Cheadle said, first of all, well, it was too steep. It was basically a flat roof. She lied. Then she said it was too hot. Well, I'm 81 and I could have been on that roof that day. And then Crooks there, they cremated his body right away.
Right.
And then a few days later, the FBI hoses down the rooftop. Why? Plus the fact half of the agents that day were not Secret Service agents. They were Homeland Security employees who had a 2-hour course online on how to guard them. And then in Florida, Ryan Roth there, he chose the only spot near the golf course where they could pick off Trump. How did he know that? He's not from that area. Plus the fact that you can't use they were supposed to have enhanced security after Butler. And he was there for 12 hours and nobody found him. You could use drones, you could use dogs, you could walk around.
Lorraine?
Yeah, so much about that. How did he get his rifle? Came from Hawaii to Florida, but he has a rifle. It just, none of it makes sense.
An interesting thing to go with what Ken said, one of the things that I heard, and John, the incompetence of these people, one of the Secret Service agents, or one of the personnel that was supposed to be guarding Trump on that day in West Palm, actually had to go online and call the drone company and find out how to operate the particular drone that was supposed to fly overhead. So this tells you about, this is programmed incompetence. This is not just, oops, I made a mistake. No, this is planned and programmed. And I think of the head of Homeland Security, the head of the Secret Service ultimately is Alejandro Mayorkas, who's the head of Homeland Security, who's an abysmal leader, if not even just an out-and-out traitor to this country. Dave?
In the first one in Butler, I mean, when we saw after the shot, all the Secret Service, milling about and running around and holstering and unholstering their weapons. I mean, it was like comedy. It was like
Like the Keystone Cops.
Keystone
Yeah.
Cops.
So that was planned to expose the Secret Service and their problems.
Yeah. When President Trump, when he gets into office, I'm going to be positive, when President Trump becomes 47, President Trump, and he gets into office, he's talked about different things he's going to do. This famous, everybody says, what am I going to do on my first day? And he has a list. Now, do you think he will go after all of this? And I'll use the term lawfare, because I think even when we know lawfare refers to a lot of the judicial legal system, but I think it really has almost a larger implication of the whole security system, even, that they're just not doing their job and they're allowing things to happen that shouldn't be happening.
Right. From high to low.
From high to low. So I think it's so pervasive now that it's a larger aspect. Do you think he'll expose the Secret Service and Homeland Security? Homeland Security has only been in effect for 20 years. It started after 9/11, 2001. So does anybody think that these are some of the things he'll go after, is correcting this?
Yes, because, well, he's been saying some interesting things and tweeting some interesting things or truthing. For example, one was saying that if you vote illegally, you're going to jail.
Right.
And he talked about things that we're going to do things that we haven't done before.
Right. He said unprecedented types of punishment. I don't know what that means, but
So
don't cheat.
He's sending signals that things are going to change.
But, the Democrats criticize him. He's going to be contemptuous. I don't think so. I think he's going to go after them to expose them, but be fair and do it by the real rule of law.
Well, you perfectly led me right into my next question, because we are using this word lawfare. And I'm going to ask John, because you're our PhD professor, and you're schooled in some of these nuances of words and what they mean.
You're putting me on the spot.
But I'd like you to explain this concept of lawfare, because we've never really seen it play out before. And now we're seeing it play out nationally, and not just nationally, but on some of the local levels. Please tell our viewers what lawfare really means.
In terms of the actual term, I don't know. I assume it was a decision on the part of some media people just to have a quotable phrase that they could apply. But what it means is the politicization of our legal system. And it's certainly easier to say lawfare than to say politicization of our legal system. But certainly it has affected the conduct of this administration and the prior Democrat administrations within our lifetimes. It's not new that you might have occasional corrupt officials in high places who will use government organs to their own ends, to prosecute those they oppose and to protect those that they want to protect. But the degree of this is unprecedented. And Trump would be malfeasant in his office if he didn't change this when he comes into power. And I still believe he will be elected unless the degree of corruption of our voting system is so high that that's prevented. But with respect to your reference to the local situation here, it came to our attention, I say I'm speaking on behalf of the Fitchburg Republican City Committee, at our last meeting, which happened to coincide with a legal decision, a legal judgment in Boston, where former State Senator Dean Tran was found guilty of failing to fully admit his income and to claim illegally to claim certain benefits by a jury in Boston. And I wanted to say a little bit about this because Dean Tran is our own figure.
And he's a friend of all of us.
A friend of ours, yes. What happened here was the product of a grand jury that met in November of 2023 and considered 4 indictments against Dean. And 2 of these indictments were submitted by Maura Healey, who was then the Attorney General, and 2 were submitted by Rachel Rollins, who was the U.S. Attorney for the area. Briefly to indicate what the first were about, in the first indictments, essentially, Dean was accused of stealing a firearm from a constituent. It turns out that the constituent in question was a elderly woman with, I'll put it gently, with bad memory, bad reasoning powers.
And she had just lost her husband.
And she'd lost her husband recently. And she made accusations to this same effect against other people, that they had stolen her firearm. In fact, Dean was not present on the scene when this firearm was so-called stolen, and the firearm was found on her own property subsequently. It turns out that apparently she was set up to do this by a member of the Democrat Party in Fitchburg.
Lawfare.
Right.
Wow.
The second indictment also came from a discredited source. The accusation was that when he was a state senator, he had his staff work on his campaign during office hours. There was no evidence ever supplied that this was true. But the state Senate president, of course a Democrat, took the accusation at face value and deprived him of several of his offices and moved his own office to another location within the office building. The other, again, when Healy submitted these claims, there was no counter evidence supplied, and there was no mention of the background.
Yeah.
The other indictments, I don't want to spend all of our
Yeah,
time
no,
on
we've
them.
only got a minute.
Okay, well, the other indictments did prove more fruitful because they focused on actual income that he obtained when he was out of work technically and getting unemployment compensation.
Because of COVID.
Because of COVID. Here, too, the full details were never supplied to the grand jury, so the jury made its decision based upon evidence that was incomplete and in some cases false, because the prosecuting attorneys admitted that she made a false statement in the portion of the indictments that really affected his actual prosecution and conviction.
And they came
so
up
what this really illustrates.
something.
It illustrates the use of government offices to convict those you don't like, essentially.
Lawfare.
What Trump has experienced.
Yes.
The same
Yes.
thing.
Guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, it's
Completely
Third world
unconstitutional.
country kind of
right. It's
stuff.
a manifestation of un-American practices.
It is. It is. So then I'd like to, this is actually kind of interesting, and Lorraine and I and Dave actually attended this, and this was what they call a unity event. And the unity event to our viewers is really something very new, and it's called MAGA Maha, M-A-H-A. And what it is it's the group of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. supporters who absolutely, have always been very strong Democrats, who are now turning against the Democrat Party and becoming, well, they're not becoming Republicans, but they're supporting President Trump. And not only are they supporting President Trump, but it almost appears on good authority that they're also looking at all of our down-ballot candidates, because they've taken a real dislike to the Democrat Party for many of these same things and for what the Democrat Party did to Robert Kennedy Jr. What do you think of MAHA? And we're really short for time. What do you think?
MAHA is Make Americans Healthy Again. And that's better food, clean water, safer environment, just better for kids. They're growing up so unhealthy. That's a Kennedy champion.
We're seeing probably an epidemic of
Obesity,
autism,
disorders,
obesity,
behavioral.
behavioral.
Unsustainable. Autism, it's just unsustainable. And Kennedy.
So I'm working with someone from the MAHA group, and she's a staunch Democrat, but now she's a Trumper.
Yeah.
And we're doing standouts, we're networking, doing everything we can to support Trump, and we just focus on things that we can agree on.
Right.
We don't talk about the things that are divisive, and we're all going to elect Trump.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody else have a thought about this unity thing? Where do you think these, now they are Democrats, but do you think some of them they're the old Kennedy Democrats that probably without realizing it are really strong libertarian, have a real strong libertarian streak because they believe in smaller government and stay out of my life?
As Reagan said, the party left me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't want to be progressive. It hurts us.
And we have younger ones like Tulsi Gabbard, who's come across because she loves the country and she doesn't think the Democrats have the best interest of our country at heart.
And our people.
And our people, right.
And that's very evident when you see with the open borders. They don't care about the people in this country. This is it. You've got to wind it down now. Lorraine, I'll start with you this time. Why should we, the voters, feel comfortable going to the polls and voting for Trump?
Trump has proven for the 4 years he was in harassed from the beginning, as Mary said, the bias from the media was relentless. He's proven that he's a man who can focus on a goal, make America great again, and that means for everyone, better life.
And you know, he's been very consistent everywhere he goes since he was voted out of office. He has the same message everywhere he
Authentic.
goes. He does not flip-flop. He does not change. Ken?
No, Trump is by far the most competent person going. He's hardworking, he's caring, he's compassionate, he has our interest at heart. And if I jump on an airplane, I want to have the best qualified pilot going. And he is definitely the best qualified person to lead us through the wilderness now. And we have existential threats for the survival of our country right now.
Yeah.
That's why we need Donald Trump.
We'll be communist in 4 years if we don't get Donald Trump. That's my prediction. John?
Yeah, the opposition, the Democrats in power, the deep state, we hear constantly the complaint that Trump and Trump supporters are a threat to democracy. Well, for one thing, we're not a democracy, but
We are a republic.
So far from being a threat to democracy, they are the threats to democracy, and they've shown this by their behavior. What they have done, it's unbelievable for anyone who has an historical sense at all. We live in a country that our fathers would not recognize because of Democrats in power, because of the deep state in power. Trump is the only man who can change that.
Is willing to take it on.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mary?
and they say he's a threat to democracy, but they never back it up with anything.
Well, because they don't like him. That's why.
Right.
That's really.
And if he had actually been a threat to democracy, he would have done it in the 4 years that he was in office. But no, we had peace and prosperity.
Yes, Dave.
Totally confident that Trump will win very handily, and we have a month to go. With October was going to be a very trying month, and everything will point people to voting for Trump. Things like the weird stuff happening in October, like longshoreman strike. That's going to devastate the economy.
Yeah. And of course, we don't know what's going to happen in the Middle East. I mean,
and Ukraine.
The Middle East and Ukraine. These could explode before we finish this show tonight.
Yeah.
We just don't know. We pray to God that won't happen, but we just don't know. So we really would like you to seriously consider voting for President Donald Trump and for the whole Republican team. We have excellent candidates we've been out working for and with to help bring them over the line also. So please consider voting for the Republican ticket, right from the top right down to the bottom, for all the candidates. Maybe you don't even know the names or what they do. And we thank you for watching Your Right to Know and sitting in here tonight with the Fitchburg Republican City Committee. We want you to know that your local Republican City and Town Committee is the only organization that will hold dear and try to protect your constitutional rights and your conservative values. Because why? Because we feel that the GOP stands for growth, opportunity, and prosperity for all people, and we always stand for freedom. And I will say it, God bless America, God bless the USA, God bless Donald Trump. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.